Tomasso Ciampa was on the Chasing Glory podcast. That's Lilian Garcia's podcast. And he had this to say about possibly heading at some point to Raw or Smackdown. He said, I have vocalized to them that if I have to go to Raw or Smackdown, I'm going to retire and become a producer or a coach. He said he has fought the call-up before. He says a run on the main roster is not worth it for me or my family, and that his body would not be able to handle the rigors of the schedule. And you've heard me talk about this before, and I've had conversations with other people and other podcasters who know, kind of the inside track on some of these things, and they've said the same thing. This guy's body is beat to shit. He's not going to last. They weren't sure if he would come back from the neck surgery. But the idea that he would go to Raw or SmackDown and be able to handle that kind of schedule and that kind of abuse, it was a very slim possibility of that happening. And I had talked about this a number of months ago, that I'm not sure that we're ever going to see Tomasso Ciampa going to Raw or SmackDown and having this big career and the big WrestleMania match. I think that as time goes on, maybe even this year in Tampa at WrestleMania, we will get to a point, especially if they're not going to run takeover shows WrestleMania weekend. At some point, if we get to that point, like they're not running a takeover show Royal Rumble weekend. So I don't know if this is the start of something, of a permanent change, or if they're going to maintain the WrestleMania weekend takeover shows. But in due time, I think, as we saw at Survivor Series, we're going to get to a point very soon where the NXT Championship is going to be defended at WrestleMania. That could be Tomasso Ciampa's ticket to get a big WrestleMania match. It would be challenging for or defending the NXT title. And I think he would be perfectly happy with that. But I agree. The idea of him having to maintain that kind of schedule with the injuries he's had, as beaten up as he is, it's not impossible, but I can understand why he would say no. Absolutely not. Believe me, this guy's got a lot of reasons. We can all have a good laugh about all the reasons why he would fight this call-up tooth and nail. Okay? Look at some of these other NXT guys. I mean, some of them have made it, and a lot of them have not. Look at what has happened to some of these NXT people that have been called up to the main roster. Why the hell would Tomasso Ciampa want to go to Raw or SmackDown? Explain that one to me. If it's just purely a financial, like a financially driven decision, then I suppose that would be the only reason I can think of. But it sounds to me like he and his family are well taken care of. He bleeds NXT. He genuinely loves being in NXT. He's happy. He's in a good place in his life. Why the hell would he want to go to Raw or SmackDown under the thumb of Vince McMahon? So I don't blame him at all for feeling that way. I applaud him, and I think we're going to see more people like that. I think he's the first of what will likely be several NXT lifers that we see in the years to come. And Johnny Gargano could be another one of those people too, because Johnny Gargano's had his share of injuries as well. In fact, he's out with one right now. Walter was in the news. Walter had his passport and his United Kingdom Championship belt stolen yesterday out of his rental car in Chicago. And Mish, if you're listening, what the hell is going on over there in Chicago? But Timothy Thatcher's car was also broken into. He had some items stolen as well. This has been happening a lot lately, apparently near that Logan Square area, which is where the Evolve show was held last night. I think it was Walter was supposed to defend the title and probably did, even though there was no title, against Josh Briggs. So that's why he was in town. It'll be a very Merry Christmas, though, for some kid in Chicago this year who's going to get themselves a nice new United Kingdom title belt. Boy, you're really taking a risk, though. Of all the cars to break into, though, you break into Walter's car. That takes some fucking balls. That takes some balls. Like, why did you break into Drake Maverick's? I'm not advocating this, of course, but why don't you break into, Drake Maverick's car or something? You break into Walter's car? Really? NXT this week had over 1,800 votes. And by the way, I love that Jericho chimed in on this on Twitter, and he basically said, been there, done that. Well, hey, maybe for Walter's sake, I hope he left his title on the hood of the car, and maybe this is just a cover story, but I get the sense that, no, his title was really stolen. So we'll see what happens there. I doubt he'll get it back. It's possible. If somebody is dumb enough to put this shit on eBay, it's always possible it could be traced back and found. But normally in these situations, I mean, the likelihood of getting that back is slim to none.